It started with a single Instagram post, a blurry photo, a baby's tiny hand, and a caption that read, "Some truths can't stay hidden forever." Within minutes, the internet was on fire. Fans flooded the comments, tagging Yandy Smith and Mendeecees Harris, demanding answers. Was there another child? Who was the baby's mother? And most importantly, was this the end of one of love and hip-hop's most iconic couples? Reports say Yandy saw the post during a late-night family dinner. What began as laughter and music quickly turned into silence and tension. Witnesses claim she froze, her eyes locked on the screen, her smile fading as she whispered, "What is this?" Across the table, Mendeecees tried to stay calm, pretending he hadn't seen it, but Yandy's voice cracked the air. "Whose baby is this?" Mendeecees. Phones were already recording. Within hours, the clip leaked. Fans saw Yandy's hands shaking, her voice trembling as she tried to hold back tears. "After everything we've built, after everything we've survived," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Mendeecees' response stunned everyone. He leaned back, exhaled deeply, and said, "That baby ain't mine." The comments section exploded. Some sided with Yandy, calling her the realest woman on TV, while others accused Mendeecees of hiding something bigger. The hashtag #ThatBabyAin'tMine trended for 3 days straight. Insiders close to the couple claim this confrontation didn't come out of nowhere. For weeks, Yandy had reportedly been growing suspicious. She'd noticed the late-night phone calls, the deleted texts, and that one weekend Mendeecees claimed he was visiting his mother in New Jersey, but his phone location pinged somewhere else. Friends say Yandy tried to keep her cool for the sake of their image, but the baby photo was the breaking point. She could no longer pretend everything was fine. And when that denial came out of Mendeecees' mouth, the floodgates opened. "You said the same thing last time," she cried, turning away from him as cameras captured her, shaking her head in disbelief. Producers reportedly tried to step in, urging both to calm down. But it was too late. The damage was done. Yandy stormed off set, and what happened next left everyone stunned. Someone from Mendeecees' circle decided to leak more photo screenshots, DMs, and what appeared to be receipts from child support payments sent quietly each month to an unnamed woman. By the next morning, every blog, gossip site, and entertainment page was running the same headline: Mendeecees' secret child support scandal exposed. Now, fans are demanding answers, and Yandy's silence is only adding fuel to the fire. Did Mendeecees lie to protect his image, or is he truly innocent in a world that thrives on chaos and clicks? One thing is certain: nothing in the Harris household will ever be the same again. And as the cameras keep rolling, the tears, betrayal, and confrontation that follow might just change everything. The night after the confrontation, Yandy barely slept. Her phone kept buzzing with messages from friends, producers, and strangers demanding answers. The world outside was spinning, but inside her apartment everything felt frozen. She sat by the window in silence, watching the city lights blur through her tears. She had built her entire image on being a woman who stood by her man through everything: prison, scandal, and betrayal. But this time, the weight was too heavy. Her voice cracked when she whispered to herself, how could he say that on camera? She had defended Mendeecees through rumors before, but hearing him deny everything so easily broke something inside her that words couldn't fix. Meanwhile, Mendeecees was at a friend's house in the Bronx, pacing the floor as his phone blew up. He kept saying the same thing to anyone who called: "That baby ain't mine. I don't know why they trying to play with me like this." But his tone betrayed him. Every denial sounded thinner, weaker. One of his closest friends, Tone, tried to calm him down. "Bro, just tell the truth before this gets uglier," Tone said quietly. Mendeecees snapped. There is no truth to tell. But his eyes told another story, one of fear. Fear of losing everything. Fear of being caught. Fear of facing Yandy again. Across town, Yandy's friends gathered around her. Kimbella, Juju, and Erica came over, bringing comfort food and soft words that only half landed. Kimbella spoke first. "Sis, you don't owe anyone an explanation. If he played you, the whole world's gonna see it soon enough." Yandy shook her head. "It's not about the world. It's about me. I believed him. I believed we were good." Juju leaned in. "Then you need to find out the truth for yourself. Not what blogs say. Not what fans post, what's real." Later that evening, as cameras rolled again for the next shoot, Yandy walked in with her chin high, but her eyes tired. Production had asked her to return for a family scene, but she knew it was a setup. Mendeecees was already sitting there, waiting. The air was thick. He stood up when he saw her, but she didn't move closer. "You embarrassed me," she said quietly. "You embarrassed me in front of everyone." Mendeecees tried to reach for her hand, but she stepped back. "You told the world that baby ain't yours. But if that's true, then why are there payments? Why are there receipts? The cameras caught his expression shifting, his jaw tightening as if he had been hit. He sighed heavily. Those payments ain't what they look like. I was helping someone out. Yandy's voice rose, trembling with anger. Helping someone out every month for 2 years, with a baby involved. Mendeecees rubbed his face and muttered, "It's complicated." The room fell silent. Production froze. Even the camera crew looked uncomfortable. Then Yandy's voice broke through the tension. "So it is true." Mendeecees shook his head quickly. "No, it's not what you think." But the damage was done. By the next morning, clips from that taping had already leaked. Fans dissected every second, every facial expression. "Look at his eyes, he lying." One comment read, "She deserves better." Another wrote, hashtags exploded again, and news outlets started calling the situation Love and Hip Hop's biggest scandal yet. Yandy stayed quiet publicly, but privately she began digging. She contacted the woman whose baby photo had gone viral. Her team managed to find her through mutual contacts. The woman's name was Keisha, and she wasn't backing down. She told Yandy she had proof. Text messages, photos, even voice notes. 2 days later, they met face-to-face in a small cafe, away from cameras. Yandy came alone, wearing a hoodie and sunglasses. When Keisha arrived, she looked nervous but defiant. "I didn't want to do it like this," Keisha began, but he stopped answering me. "I just wanted him to take responsibility." Yandy's voice was calm but cold. "So you're saying this is his baby?" Keisha nodded slowly. "Yes. He told me he'd handle everything quietly. I never wanted to hurt you." Yandy clenched her jaw. "You already did." She stood up, ready to leave. But Keisha reached into her bag and placed a small envelope on the table. "You might want to see this." Inside were copies of receipts, a photo of Mendeecees holding the baby, and a text that read, "Don't post nothing. I'll take care of you." Yandy froze, staring at the handwriting she knew too well. Her heart pounded so loud she could barely breathe. She didn't cry, not yet. She just said, "Thank you," and walked out. That night, Yandy confronted Mendeecees again. "I met her," she said, her tone flat and controlled. "I saw the receipts. I saw the picture." Mendeecees closed his eyes, his voice low. "It's not what you think." Yandy's patience cracked. "Stop saying that. You've said that every time you got caught. What is it this time? Photoshop? Coincidence?" He looked away. "It was a mistake, Yandy. I didn't mean for it to go that far." She laughed bitterly. "A mistake that breathes, eats, and calls someone daddy." He tried to explain, saying it happened years ago, before things got serious again between them. But Yandy wasn't buying it. "You lied to me every single day. You looked me in the eye and swore we were solid." Tears streamed down her face, her voice shaking. "Do you even love me? Or do you just love how I make you look?" Mendeecees didn't answer. His silence was louder than any confession. The next morning, she packed his things and told him to leave. "I need space," she said. "You can talk to the producers, the blogs, whoever you want, but you can't talk to me right now." Mendeecees tried to plead, but she turned away. As he walked out, cameras followed him to the car. His final words before closing the door were, "I just hope she knows I never stopped loving her." The scene aired weeks later, but by then, things had already spiraled. Fans were divided, some calling Yandy a queen for standing up for herself, others accusing her of doing it for clout. But what they didn't know was that behind the scenes, another twist was forming. Keisha wasn't done talking. She had one more piece of evidence that would shake everything again. And this time, it wouldn't just be about the baby. It would expose something even deeper, something Yandy never saw coming. 2 days after Mendeecees left the apartment, the silence felt unbearable. The cameras were gone, the lights were off, but the echoes of every argument still hung in the air. Yandy sat alone on the couch, scrolling through her phone. Every headline carried her name. Yandy breaks down on set. Mendeecees, secret exposed. Keisha speaks out. She tried to tune it out, but the secret exposed. Keisha speaks out. She tried to tune it out, but the comments were everywhere. People she'd never met debating her marriage like it was a TV poll. She wanted to disappear, but at the same time, she couldn't stop watching. It was like her pain had become public property, and there was no way to take it back. Mendeecees, on the other hand, had gone quiet. For a man who usually lived online, he'd vanished from every platform. Insiders said he was staying with his cousin in Atlanta, avoiding the press. But one night, a close friend leaked a recording from a phone conversation he'd had. In the audio, his voice was tense. "I messed up. Man, I tried to fix it before it blew up, but Keisha ain't letting it go. And now Yandy hates me." The leak only added fuel to the fire. Fans flooded comments sections demanding an apology. Others said it was too late. Meanwhile, Keisha's story was gaining traction. She went live on Instagram, sitting in her car with tears in her eyes. "I never wanted fame," she said. "I just wanted my son to be acknowledged. I've been quiet for too long." She showed a blurred photo of the baby again, and fans noticed a striking resemblance to Mendeecees. The comments exploded, some sympathetic, others cruel. One user wrote, "Girl, you lying," while another said, "That baby looked just like him." The live was shared millions of times within hours. When Yandy saw it, she felt the ground slip beneath her again. She had been trying to convince herself that maybe it was all exaggerated. Maybe Mendeecees was telling the truth, but that video made it real. She called Kimbella right away. "You saw it?" Yandy asked. "Yeah," Kimbella replied softly. "What you gonna do?" Yandy exhaled slowly. "I'm gonna take a DNA test. If he won't, I will." A week later, production arranged a sit-down meeting. The plan was to film it privately. No leaks, no surprises. But everyone knew with this show, nothing stayed private. The room was small, with just 2 chairs and a single camera. Yandy sat on one side, calm, but cold. Mendeecees walked in, looking tired, wearing a black hoodie and no smile. "I'm here, ain't I?" he said, sitting down. Yandy didn't blink. "You're here, but are you ready to tell the truth?" He ran a hand over his face. "You already got your mind made up." She leaned forward. "Then change it." Her voice didn't rise, but it cut sharp. "You said that baby ain't yours. I want you to look in the camera and say that again after everything we've seen, after all the receipts." Mendeecees looked away, then back at her. "I didn't want this to happen. I thought it would fade away. I didn't think she'd take it this far." Yandy's eyes widened. "So you admit it?" He hesitated. "I admit I made a mistake, but it was years ago." The room fell silent again. The producer in the corner glanced at the cameraman, signaling to keep rolling. Yandy took a deep breath. "Do you have any idea what you've done to me? To us? Every day I wake up, I see people calling me stupid, weak, blind. I gave you everything, and you gave me humiliation." Mendeecees' voice cracked slightly. "You think I wanted this? I was trying to protect you." Yandy laughed bitterly. "By lying?" She stood up. "You didn't protect me, you destroyed me." The moment aired weeks later and broke the internet. Fans were crying, arguing, taking sides. Hashtag Team Yandy trended worldwide. Celebrities even weighed in. Cardi B tweeted, "Never protect a man that won't protect you back." It became more than gossip, it became a public reckoning. Behind the scenes, producers knew they had struck gold. But for Yandy, it was personal. She started attending therapy, off camera. She told her therapist, "I don't even know who I am without this relationship." Her therapist replied, "Maybe it's time to find out." Those words stuck with her. For the first time in years, she started thinking about life without Mendeecees, what that might look like, who she might become. While she worked on healing, Mendeecees' life took another hit. Someone leaked court documents showing he'd been sending monthly payments under a different name. Fans connected the dots quickly. Blogs ran headlines like "Mendeecees exposed against secret accounts revealed." When asked for comment, he only said, "People don't know the full story," but his credibility was gone. Then came the biggest twist yet. Keisha dropped another bombshell during an interview with a gossip channel. She claimed she wasn't the only woman. "He told me there was another," she said. "Someone else before me." The host gasped, "Are you saying there's another child?" Keisha nodded. "He said it slipped out once, when he was drunk. I didn't believe it, but now." The internet erupted again. Yandy watched the interview in disbelief. "Another one," she whispered. She called Mendeecees immediately. "Please tell me this isn't true." He paused, too long before answering. "It's not what you think." Yandy closed her eyes. "You keep saying that, and every time you do, something worse comes out." Her voice softened. "How many lies can one person survive?" He didn't answer. Later that night, she posted a photo on Instagram, just a black background, with the words, "Truth doesn't hurt, lies do." Within minutes, it went viral. Fans flooded her comments with support, calling her strong, unbreakable, and the definition of grace. But behind the screen, she was breaking quietly, trying to hold herself together as the world dissected her pain. Meanwhile, Mendeecees met with his lawyer, discussing how to control the damage. If another woman comes forward, the lawyer warned, you could lose everything: endorsements, contracts, reputation. Mendeecees rubbed his temples, whispering, I already lost the only thing that mattered. But the drama wasn't done unfolding. That same night, a mysterious account posted unseen footage from months earlier: Mendeecees at a club, holding a woman who wasn't young. The caption read, "The night before it all fell apart." And as fans shared the clip, Yandy watched it in silence, realizing this story was far from over. He leaked footage hit every blog within hours. Grainy, dimly lit, but clear enough to show Mendeecees laughing, his arm around a woman who wasn't Yandy. She was younger, unfamiliar to most fans, and the clip was dated just weeks before the original baby post that started it all. By sunrise, the video had millions of views. Headlines screamed betrayal. Mendeecees caught slipping again. New woman enters the picture. Yandy's heartbreak deepens. Producers from the show called Yandy at 7 a.m., begging her to film her reaction. She said nothing for a long moment, then replied, "Fine. If the world wants to see it, they'll see it." When the cameras arrived, she was sitting at her vanity, still in her robe. Her eyes were swollen, her face bare. She didn't look at the crew as she spoke softly. "Every time I think it can't get worse, it does. I used to think love could fix anything. Now I realize love can blind you if you let it." The room stayed silent. She turned toward the mirror, her voice steadier. "He was supposed to be my partner, my safe place, but maybe I've been living in a story that only I believed." Across town, Mendeecees was spiraling. His phone wouldn't stop ringing. Friends, managers, reporters, all asking the same question. Who was the woman in the video? He slammed the phone down and muttered, "This gotta be a setup." His cousin shook his head. "You said that last time." Mendeecees glared at him. "You think I'm lying?" The cousin hesitated. "I think you got caught." Mendeecees grabbed his keys and stormed out, ignoring the cameras already waiting outside. That afternoon, he called Yandy. She didn't answer. He texted, "We need to talk in person. Please." She stared at the screen for a long time before replying. There's nothing left to say, but the producers convinced her to meet him for one final confrontation, promising this would be the last. They met in an empty park, just before sunset, both looking exhausted. The crew kept their distance. The first few minutes passed in silence. Then Yandy said quietly, "Who was she?" Mendeecees took a deep breath. "Someone I knew from back in the day." "It wasn't what it looked like." She let out a hollow laugh. "You've said that so many times it's lost all meaning." He looked at her, eyes red. "I never meant to hurt you." She shook her head. "You did more than hurt me. You made me question myself. Every time I forgave you, I lost a little piece of who I was." Her voice trembled. "And for what?" "For loyalty you couldn't even return." Mendeecees' voice cracked. "I know I don't deserve you, but I love you. I always will." She stared at him for a long "Don't deserve you, but I love you. I always will." She stared at him for a long moment, then said softly, "Then maybe loving me should have meant telling the truth." That episode aired in full 2 weeks later, and social media exploded again. Viewers called it the most emotional moment in the show's history. But behind the scenes, the real drama was still brewing. Keisha posted a new message online, claiming she had more receipts about Mendeecees' connections with other women. Fans begged her to drop them, and when she finally did, it broke everything open. Screenshots showed messages from Mendeecees to at least 2 other women, each promising secrecy. 1. Read, "You know I gotta keep this quiet till the cameras stop rolling." Another said, "Yandy don't need to know nothing." Yandy saw it all unfold online in real time. She didn't cry this time. She just sat still, staring at the screen, her phone buzzing nonstop. She called her manager and said, "Schedule an interview. I'm done hiding." Within 48 hours, she sat down for a primetime exclusive. Wearing a simple black dress, she spoke clearly, every word measured. "I've stood by my husband through everything: jail, rumors, judgment. But there comes a time when a woman has to stand by herself." The interviewer leaned in. "So, are you saying it's over?" Yandy paused, then nodded. "I'm saying I choose peace." The audience erupted online. #IChoosePeace trended for days. Fans called it a movement. Women across social media shared their own stories of walking away from toxic relationships, tagging Yandy for inspiration. She reposted a few, writing, "Healing isn't weakness, it's power." But just when the world began to rally behind her, a new twist came that no one saw coming. A few days after the interview, a man claiming to be Keisha's cousin reached out to the press, saying there was something fake about the entire story. He released a statement suggesting Keisha had exaggerated the timeline and that Mendeecees might not actually be the baby's father. The internet went wild again. Some fans accused Keisha of lying for clout. Others accused Mendeecees of paying someone off to cover the truth. No one knew what to believe. Yandy received a call from a producer the next morning. "They want a reunion special," he said, "to clear everything up." She sighed. "There's nothing left to clear up. I'm done performing my pain." The producer pushed, "Just one more time. The fans deserve closure." Yandy hesitated. She thought about her kids, her career, the years she had invested. Fine, she said at last. But this time, I speak my truth, not their storyline. When the reunion day arrived, tension filled the air before anyone even sat down. Mendeecees walked in first, looking worn down but defiant. Yandy followed moments later, elegant but guarded. The host wasted no time. Yandy, Mendeecees, where do things stand between you two right now? She answered calmly, we're not together. I'm healing. He's figuring himself out. Mendeecees nodded, saying, I respect that. I made mistakes, and I'll spend the rest of my life making peace with them. But before the conversation could soften, the host turned to the audience. We've got someone backstage who wants to join us. Gasps filled the studio as Keisha walked out. Yandy froze, her eyes narrowing. Mendeecees shifted in his seat. Keisha took the mic and said, I came here to tell the truth. She reached into her bag and pulled out a manila envelope. The DNA results came in. The crowd went silent. She handed the envelope to the host, who opened it slowly, reading the paper inside. After a long pause, the host looked up. According to this document, Mendeecees, you are not the father. The audience erupted. Mendeecees exhaled in disbelief, whispering, thank God. Yandy's eyes widened not with joy, but confusion. Keisha stood still, tears forming. I was told it was you, she said softly. I swear I thought it was. Yandy blinked slowly. So I went through all this for nothing. Her voice trembled, for rumors and lies. She looked at Mendeecees, her anger fading into exhaustion. You see what this did to us? What this turned us into? Mendeecees nodded quietly. Maybe the truth came too late. As the cameras zoomed in, the scene captured something raw to people who had destroyed and defended each other, now sitting side by side in the ruins of what used to be love. And even though the test cleared his name, the damage was already done. The truth had come, but peace was nowhere to be found. After the reunion episode aired, the world went silent for a moment, as if everyone was catching their breath. The DNA results had flipped everything upside down. The man everyone called a liar was technically innocent, yet the truth felt like a hollow victory. Yandy sat in her dressing room after filming ended, staring at her reflection. Her makeup had been wiped away, her eyes red from hours of emotion. The crew packed up equipment around her, whispering, giving her space. She whispered under her breath, so it was never real. It wasn't just about Keisha or the baby, it was about years of mistrust, of trying to love someone she no longer recognized. Mendeecees was in the next room, surrounded by his manager, his cousin, and a few producers who were trying to convince him to go public again. This is your chance to clear your name, one of them said. People will finally see you were telling the truth. Mendeecees shook his head slowly. The truth don't fix what's broken. She still don't trust me. He leaned back, exhausted. What's the point of proving I'm innocent if she still feels betrayed? His cousin patted him on the shoulder. You could start over, bro. Maybe this is your clean slate. Mendeecees just looked away. There ain't no clean slate when the whole world's seen your mess. The next morning, Yandy's phone exploded again, only this time it was sympathy. Messages from fans, co-stars, even strangers flooded her DMs, telling her she handled everything with grace. But the truth was, she didn't feel graceful. She felt empty. She went live that evening, speaking directly to her followers. Everyone keeps saying you won, but this wasn't a win. This was pain on display, for clicks, for ratings, for gossip. Her voice trembled slightly. I don't hate anyone. I just learned the hard way that sometimes love isn't enough. Comments poured in instantly, full of heart emojis and encouragement. Yet behind the camera, Yandy wiped a tear she hadn't planned to shed. Mendeecees watched the live from his hotel room. When it ended, he picked up his phone but didn't call her. Instead, he scrolled through old photos, birthdays, family trips, the day he got out of prison. He zoomed in on one picture of Yandy smiling at him, the kind of smile that used to mean safety. He whispered to himself, how do you come back from this? A week later, producers announced a special follow-up episode. They called it After the Truth. Both Yandy and Mendeecees agreed to film, but separately. In her segment, Yandy spoke calmly, almost detached. When you love someone, you build a life around trust. When that trust cracks, even the truth can't put it back together. She paused. He may not be the father, but the lies, the secrets, the half-truths, they were real, and they broke us. When it was Mendeecees' turn, he sat in a dimly lit room, staring straight into the camera. I didn't cheat the way people think, but I did lie. I lied about conversations, about where I was, about things I should have told her. I was scared of losing her, and that's exactly what happened. His voice softened. The truth came too late. The audience reacted emotionally again. People debated online whether Yandy should take him back or walk away for good. He made mistakes, but he's human, some wrote. Others said, once trust is gone, it's gone. Blogs dissected every expression, every sentence. It became more than a story, it became a mirror for everyone watching, a reflection of their own heartbreaks. Behind the cameras, Yandy made quiet moves. She met with her lawyer to discuss separation papers. Not divorce yet, but distance. I need space to think clearly, she told him. Without cameras, without noise. The lawyer nodded. Take your time. Just remember to protect your peace. Mendeecees found out about it days later. He showed up at her door, unannounced, holding a small box. She opened it reluctantly. What is this? She asked. He handed it to her gently. It's everything you ever gave me. Rings, notes, pictures. I can't keep them right now. Every time I look at notes, pictures, I can't keep them right now. Every time I look at them, I feel like I'm watching what we used to be. She looked down at the box, then back at him. So this is goodbye. He nodded slowly. If that's what you need. She stepped aside, her voice soft. It's what we both need. As he walked away, the cameras followed him one last time, his face unreadable. Yandy closed the door, leaned against it, and exhaled deeply. For the first time in months, she felt something close to peace. Quiet peace, but peace nonetheless. The next few weeks were calmer. Yandy focused on her kids, her businesses, and her community work. She started posting again, not about drama but about rebuilding. One caption read, "Some endings don't need closure. They just need peace." It became one of her most shared posts ever. Mendeecees stayed out of the spotlight, avoiding interviews. He began volunteering at a mentorship program for young men, trying to shift the narrative. One of the producers asked him during a private chat, "You think Yandy will ever forgive you?" He smiled faintly. "She already did. She just don't trust me. And that's fair." Then, out of nowhere, Keisha reappeared online. She posted a long apology, admitting that her anger had driven her to push a story she wasn't sure of. "I should have handled it privately," she said through tears. "I hurt people who didn't deserve it." Her apology video went viral, but this time, no one celebrated. Fans just sighed, tired of the chaos. A few days later, Yandy shared a short video on her page. No makeup, no filter, just her voice. "I don't know what comes next," she said, "but I know who I am now, and that's enough." She smiled faintly. This isn't a sad ending. It's just a new chapter. In the background of that clip, Mendeecees' voice could be faintly heard as he picked up their son from the hallway, saying, "Come on, buddy, say bye to mommy." It wasn't staged, but it captured something raw, quiet understanding between two people who once shared everything and now shared only what mattered most. As the episode faded to black, the narrator's voice closed with a line that fans wouldn't forget. Sometimes, love doesn't die, it just changes form. And in that change, both hearts learn what they were too scared to see. The truth was never the enemy. The silence was. Yandy sat alone in the darkened living room, the glow of her phone screen reflecting off her tear-streaked face. Messages kept pouring in, texts from friends, producers, even strangers, each one slicing deeper than the last. She had turned off the lights hours ago, hoping that if the house stayed quiet, maybe the noise outside would fade too. But it didn't. The scandal had grown bigger than she could control. Mendeecees, somewhere out in the city, was doing damage control with his team, denying every claim and calling it all a setup. But the more he talked, the less people believed him. Fans had started comparing dates, matching up photos, even creating timelines of his alleged disappearances. One clip surfaced from months ago where he avoided answering a question about extra family. Suddenly, every hesitation looked like guilt. Across town, Mendeecees was pacing a hotel suite, phone pressed to his ear. "I didn't do this," he kept saying. "They trying to ruin me." His manager told him to stay off social media, but Mendeecees couldn't resist. He opened Instagram, scrolled through comments, and saw his name being dragged through the mud. He'd been lying since day one. Someone wrote, "Yandy deserves better." Another comment read, "You can see it in his eyes, he guilty." The words burned into him. He slammed the phone down and leaned on the wall, breathing hard. His reflection in the mirror looked tired, older. How did it come to this? He muttered. The next morning, Yandy's friend Juju came over. She walked in quietly, setting down coffee cups and a small bag of breakfast. "You need to eat something," she said softly. Yandy didn't look up. "I can't. Every time I close my eyes, I see that picture, that baby," and his face when he said it ain't his. Juju sighed, sitting beside her. "Men lie, but the truth, no matter how ugly, always comes out." Yandy finally looked up, her eyes red. "I thought we were done with all this. We built something real. We fought for our family, and now it feels like I'm back at square one." As their conversation unfolded, producers were already meeting in a downtown office, deciding how to handle the footage. One of them said, "This is TV gold." Another whispered, "It's her life, not just a storyline." But the network executives didn't care. They knew viewers would tune in, desperate to see every tear, every confrontation. One even suggested filming a private sit-down with Yandy and Mendeecees to clear the air. That night, Mendeecees finally came home. The tension was thick. Cameras had been told to stay away, but one crew member kept recording through a hidden feed. The footage that leaked later showed him standing at the doorway, hesitant. "Yandy, can we talk?" His voice cracked slightly. She didn't answer. "Please, I need you to believe me." She finally turned toward him. "Believe you? After everything?" After seeing proof, he stepped closer. "Those receipts are fake. Somebody's trying to destroy what we have." She shook her head. "You already did that." The argument spiraled. Yandy demanded names, details, explanations. Mendeecees swore he didn't know the woman, but then she asked something that froze the room. "Then why were you sending money every month?" His silence said more than any denial could. "You think I didn't find out? I have the statements." He ran a hand over his face, searching for words. "I was helping her out. That's all. She said she needed support for the baby. I didn't want to make it public." Yandy's voice broke. "Because you knew it looked bad." Outside, fans had gathered near their home, phones in hand, hoping to catch a glimpse or someone live-streamed as security tried to push people back. Inside, Yandy collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. Mendeecees stood frozen, guilt and exhaustion painted across his face. "I swear on everything. That child ain't mine," he whispered, almost to himself. But his words sounded empty now. Juju came back later that night and found Yandy packing a small bag. "Where are you going?" Juju asked. Yandy didn't stop folding clothes. "Somewhere quiet. I need to breathe." Juju tried to convince her to stay, but Yandy was determined. "If I stay here, I'll break." She grabbed her keys and left without another word. Hours later, she posted a single story, just a photo of a road at night with the caption, "He lied." Meanwhile, Mendeecees was meeting with his lawyer. "They're saying the DNA test results are coming out soon." The lawyer warned, "If this goes public before we're ready, your reputation might not survive." Mendeecees ran his hand over his beard, staring blankly at the wall. "I can't lose her," he said. "Not like this." The lawyer nodded. "Then we need to get ahead of the story. If you're innocent, we prove it. Fast." Rumors started swirling that the baby's mother was preparing to speak out. Blogs teased exclusive interviews. One even claimed to have voice notes of Mendeecees promising to make things right. Yandy saw the posts, her heart tightening each time. She didn't know what to believe anymore. She wanted to trust the man she'd stood by through prison, through scandal, through years of rebuilding, but trust doesn't survive when the truth keeps changing shape. In the middle of the night, Mendeecees sent her a voice message. His voice was raw. "I know you hate me right now, but please, don't believe everything out there. I'm fighting for us." She listened twice, then deleted it. The next morning, her publicist called. "People are asking if you're filing for separation. What do I tell them?" Yandy hesitated, staring out the window at the gray sky. "Tell them I'm figuring out what's left to fight for." And as the world watched, the story that began with a single photo was about to take another turn, one that neither of them could have predicted. The next day, the internet went completely wild when a short clip leaked online showing Mendeecees walking into a downtown building with a woman carrying a baby in her arms. The video, grainy but clear enough to identify faces, instantly reignited the fire. Blogs began posting headlines like "The baby mystery deepens" and "Yandy betrayed again." The comments section was chaos. People argued, defended, mocked, and speculated. But the image of Mendeecees reaching to hold the baby was impossible to explain away. By noon, Yandy was trending again, her face plastered across gossip channels and fan edits of her crying moment from the last episode. She sat in silence, phone buzzing nonstop. Tears dried into her skin. "I can't do this anymore," she whispered to herself. "I can't keep pretending we're do this anymore." She whispered to herself. "I can't keep pretending we're okay." In another part of the city, Mendeecees was losing his temper. "That video ain't what it looks like," he yelled during a heated call with his manager. She showed up, said she needed to talk. That's it. But even he didn't believe how weak it sounded. The manager warned him, "Public opinion's turning fast. You need to make a statement, or they'll write their own version." He hung up, staring at the baby photo on his phone. His mind raced back to the day that woman showed up months ago crying, holding that same child, saying she just needed help. She'd told him the baby was his. He didn't want to believe it, but when she threatened to go public, he panicked. He agreed to send money until he could figure things out, but now, it was too late. That evening, Mendeecees decided to show up at Yandy's rented apartment. She didn't answer his calls, but he knew she was inside. When she finally opened the door, her eyes were swollen, her expression cold. "You've said enough," she told him flatly. "I just want to talk," he said, stepping inside before she could stop him. "No cameras, no crew, no lies, just us." She crossed her arms. "There is no us." He sat down anyway. "You saw the video, right? That's not what you think." She let out a bitter laugh. "Then what is it, Mendeecees? Because every time I try to believe you, another piece falls apart." He rubbed his face, exhaustion dripping from his voice. "I was scared. That's why I sent her money. I didn't know if it was true or not." "So you thought it might be," Yandy snapped. Her voice cracked. "After all these years, you still out here doing things that make me look like a fool." Tears rolled down her face again, but this time, she didn't hide them. "Do you have any idea how humiliating it is to defend you publicly, to tell people you're a good man, and then see this?" Mendeecees tried to reach for her hand, but she pulled away. "Don't touch me." For a long moment, the room was silent except for the faint sound of traffic outside. Then he whispered, "I'm getting a DNA test." She shook her head. "You should have done that before this blew up. Now everyone's got an opinion, and I'm the one drowning in it." The next morning, social media woke up to another twist. The alleged baby mama, identified only as Tasha, posted a long caption claiming she had nothing but respect for Yandy but couldn't stay silent anymore. She uploaded screenshots of messages, dates, and even voice notes that seemed to belong to Mendeecees. In one, a man's voice said, "I'll take care of you and the baby. Just don't make it messy." Fans compared the voice to old clips of Mendeecees and declared it a match. The internet crowned Yandy the victim, Tasha the liar, and Mendeecees the villain, at least for the day. By afternoon, cameras caught Yandy leaving a beauty studio, wearing sunglasses and holding back tears. Paparazzi yelled questions, but she ignored them. Later, in an exclusive confessional for the show, she finally spoke. "I've given everything to this man. My time, my loyalty, my heart. And now I have to question everything. Maybe love isn't enough when the truth keeps changing." The clip aired that night and broke the internet again. Fans flooded her comments with messages of support. "Stay strong, queen. You don't deserve this. Once a liar, always a liar." Meanwhile, Mendeecees' team scrambled to repair the damage. He recorded a shaky apology video in his car. "I've made mistakes," he said, looking directly into the camera. "But I'm not a bad man. I've always tried to protect my family. Sometimes things get twisted in this industry. I'm handling this privately now, out of respect for Yandy and my kids." The video got millions of views, but it did little to calm the storm. Instead, fans picked apart his tone, his pauses, his every word. "He's lying," one commenter wrote. "You can see it in his eyes." Another said, "If he's innocent, why all the secrecy?" Inside her apartment, Yandy watched the video in silence. Juju was with her again, sitting nearby. "You think he's telling the truth?" Juju asked. Yandy didn't answer at first. "I don't even know what the truth is anymore," she said softly. "He's always been a good father, but sometimes good fathers still make bad choices." She set her phone down and wiped her eyes. "I just wish I knew where the man I married went." Juju put a hand on her shoulder. "Maybe he's still there, somewhere under all this mess. But right now, you need to protect your peace." A week later, the DNA test results arrived, but instead of bringing closure, they made everything worse. The test was labeled inconclusive, citing possible contamination. The media went wild. Who tampered with the DNA results? One headline asked, "Is someone hiding the truth?" Speculations ran rampant, with fans theorizing that someone had interfered to protect Mendeecees. Yandy's trust hit its breaking point. She posted a cryptic message on her story. "Truth doesn't hide, it fights to be seen." Within minutes, it was shared thousands of times. As the world debated her next move, Yandy made one in silence. She packed her things, sent her kids to stay with her mother, and told the producers she was taking a break from filming. She needed to disappear for a while to think, to heal, to decide if the love that once felt unbreakable was worth saving. But what she didn't know was that another secret was about to surface, one that would shake everything even more. Days turned into weeks, but the chaos never slowed down. The internet refused to let the story die. Every move Yandy made, every silence from Mendeecees became fuel for another round of speculation. Gossip channels built whole episodes around blurry screenshots and exclusive sources. One podcast claimed to have inside info from someone close to the family. "It's deeper than just a baby," the host whispered dramatically. There's money involved, contracts, betrayal at the highest level. Fans listened, dissected, and spread theories like wildfire. Yandy, meanwhile, had retreated to her mother's house, upstate. Away from the flashing lights and constant noise, she tried to find quiet. Her mother watched her closely, never pushing, just being there. One morning, Yandy sat on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, coffee in hand, scrolling through her messages. Hundreds of people had reached out, fans, friends, even strangers telling her to stay strong, to leave him, to forgive him. Everyone had an opinion. She sighed, muttering, "Everybody's living my life like it's a movie." Her mom looked up from watering plants. "Maybe it's time to stop acting in it, baby. Maybe it's time to write your own ending." Back in New York, Mendeecees was unraveling. The producers had paused filming until the scandal settled, but his name wouldn't leave the headlines. Tasha, the alleged baby mama, was set to appear on a talk show to tell her side. His lawyer begged him to stay calm, but Mendeecees' pride was cracking. "She's lying on my name. I can't just sit here," he shouted during a meeting. "The more I stay quiet, the worse it gets." His lawyer replied, "Every word you say now can be twisted. You have to think bigger, your brand, your kids, your future." Mendeecees rubbed his temples. Frustration etched across his face. "My future's already burning." The day of the interview arrived. Millions tuned in. Tasha sat across from the host, dressed in a simple black outfit, tears ready. She told a story about a long emotional connection and broken promises. She claimed Mendeecees begged her to keep the baby secret to protect his marriage. Then came the receipts, more messages, more photos, some too blurry to verify, others painfully convincing. The audience gasped. Social media erupted again. "It's over for him." One tweet read, "Yandy deserves a medal for surviving this." Another said, "He needs to do a live DNA test on camera." When Yandy saw the clip, she didn't cry this time. She just sat there, staring, empty. Juju called, "Don't look at it, girl. You don't need to feed that pain." But Yandy's voice was steady. "I needed to see what everyone else is seeing. I need to stop pretending I'm okay." She got up, walked to the mirror, and I'm okay. She got up, walked to the mirror, and studied her reflection. "This woman deserves peace," she whispered, "and I'm gonna give it to her." That night, Mendeecees called her again. This time, she answered. His voice was low, tired. "I saw the interview." She didn't respond. "Yandy, please. You know how people twist things." She finally said, "I don't care what people twist anymore. I care about what's real. So tell me, did you love her?" Silence filled the line. "It wasn't love," he said quietly. "It was a mistake. I was weak." She let out a shaky breath. "And now that weakness might have given you another child." He tried to speak, but she interrupted. "Stop lying, Mendeecees. You can't fix this one with another apology." And with that, she hung up. The next morning, producers reached out again, offering to film a special sit-down between the two. Yandy refused. "I'm not doing another scene where I cry for the cameras. This isn't for TV anymore." But after days of persuasion, and after realizing her silence only gave more power to rumors, she agreed on one condition: no scripts, no edits, no "If I'm doing this, it's gonna be real." The reunion filming took place in a quiet studio with only a few people present. When Mendeecees arrived, he looked exhausted. Yandy sat opposite him, her hands folded tightly. The host asked the first question, "Where do things stand between you two?" Yandy spoke first. "I don't know. I used to know everything about him, his voice, his lies, his truths. Now I don't even recognize who I'm sitting across from." Mendeecees took a breath. "I made mistakes," he admitted, "but I never stopped loving you." She looked up sharply. "You can love someone and still destroy them." The room fell silent. The host turned to Mendeecees. "Did you father this child?" He hesitated, then shook his head. "No, I didn't, but I understand why no one believes me." The host pressed further. "So why the money? The messages? The visits?" Mendeecees exhaled. "Because I didn't want to see another kid grow up struggling, even if I wasn't the father. I thought I was doing something good." Yandy's voice trembled. "Good doesn't hide. Good doesn't lie." For a moment, his eyes softened. "You think I didn't hate myself every day for what this turned into?" She looked away, whispering, "You should have hated yourself before it got this far." When the reunion special aired 2 weeks later, it broke viewership records. The audience saw two people torn apart by secrets and pride, both trying to hold on to something already slipping through their fingers. Fans took sides. Hashtags trended again, and every outlet replayed the moment. Yandy whispered, "You can love someone and still destroy them." But behind the scenes, something else was happening. One of the producers received an anonymous envelope the day after filming. Inside was a single document, a second DNA test, this one stamped and verified. And the results told a story neither of them was ready to face. When the envelope arrived at the studio, the assistant barely noticed it among the stack of fan mail and sponsorship packages. It was small, sealed tight, and addressed simply, "For Yandy's eyes only." The producer hesitated before handing it over, sensing something heavy in the way it felt. When Yandy arrived later that afternoon to record a follow-up confessional, the producer quietly placed the envelope on the table. Someone dropped this off. No name, no return address. Yandy frowned, sliding it closer. She turned it over, her stomach tightening. "What is it?" the producer asked. She shook her head. "I don't know, but I think I already do." She didn't open it right away. She waited until she got home, until the cameras were gone, until the noise of the world faded into the walls. She sat at the edge of her bed, staring at the envelope like it was alive. Her hands trembled as she tore it open. Inside was a single sheet of paper, official cold, clinical DNA test results. Her eyes darted to the last line. Probability of paternity, 99.9%. The name printed beneath it, Mendeecees Harris. For a moment, she couldn't breathe. The paper slipped from her fingers and floated to the floor. She stared at it, motionless, as the truth settled like a weight on her chest. The baby was his. The next morning, social media had no idea what was coming. Yandy hadn't spoken publicly in days. The network had announced a temporary break in filming, giving space for healing. But behind closed doors, she was breaking apart. Juju came over again, concern etched in her face. "Girl, you look like you ain't slept in days." Yandy handed her the paper wordlessly. Juju's eyes widened. "Oh no, oh no, no, no." She looked up, her voice low. "What you gonna do?" Yandy whispered, "I don't know. I don't even know who I am anymore." That same day, Mendeecees was in a meeting with his lawyer when his phone buzzed. It was a message from Yandy. "We need to talk. In person." His stomach dropped. He knew that tone. Within an hour, he was at her door. She opened it without a word and handed him the envelope. He didn't even need to look. Her silence told him everything. Still, he unfolded the paper, scanned the results, and closed his eyes. "How long have you known?" he asked softly. "Since last night," she said, her voice flat. "How long have you lied?" He looked at her, defeated. "I didn't know for sure. I swear, I thought she was just trying to ruin us." Yandy laughed bitterly. "Well, congratulations." She succeeded. She turned away, tears starting again. "I stood by you when you were locked up, when the world turned its back. And you repay me with this." He tried to move closer. "Yandy, please," but she cut him off. "Don't. Every time you say please, you make it worse." Her voice shook with rage and heartbreak. "You made me fight for a man who wasn't even fighting for himself." Their voices carried through the apartment walls. Neighbors later said they'd never heard anything like it: shouting, crying, silence, and then the sound of a door slamming. Mendeecees left without saying another word. Hours later, his car was spotted parked outside a small townhouse in Harlem, the same address tied to Tasha. Paparazzi followed, snapping photos of him knocking on her door, his face drawn and hollow. The next day, the pictures were everywhere. Mendeecees finally faces the truth. Inside, the confrontation was tense. Tasha opened the door holding the baby, who stared at him with wide, innocent eyes. Mendeecees' voice cracked. "So it's true." She nodded, tears forming. "I told you, you just didn't want to hear it." He sat down, his hands shaking. "Why didn't you push harder? Why wait until it blew up like this?" She sighed. "Because every time I tried, you ran. I didn't want to ruin your family, but you left me no choice." He looked at the baby again, swallowing hard. "What's his name?" She smiled weakly. "Miles." He repeated it quietly, as if memorizing it. "Miles." Meanwhile, Yandy was home alone, scrolling through the chaos online. The photos of Mendeecees outside Tasha's house hit her like a punch. She threw her phone down, her chest heaving. He went to her. She whispered, disbelief turning into fury. She grabbed her jacket and keys, driving aimlessly through the city, tears blurring the road. She ended up at a small park where she and Mendeecees used to take their kids. She sat on a bench, staring at the swings. "How did we end up here?" she said quietly to no one. By nightfall, the internet had already turned the scandal into spectacle. Reaction videos, breakdowns, and live streams flooded YouTube. Mendeecees is officially a father again. One headline screamed, "Yandy breaks silence with cryptic post." That post was a black background with 3 words in white text. "I'm done pretending." The caption simply read, "No more explanations." Millions of likes poured in. The support was overwhelming. But Yandy didn't feel it. She felt numb. 2 days later, Mendeecees released a statement of his own. "I take full responsibility for my actions," it read. "I've made choices I'll regret for the rest of my life. My focus now is to be honest, to be a better man, and to rebuild what I've broken if it's not too late." The response was mixed. Some praised him for owning up. Others called it damage control. Fans demanded he go live, face Yandy publicly, answer questions. But he stayed quiet after that, disappearing from social media altogether. Behind the scenes, producers were already planning another special one that would bring all three of them together for a televised confrontation. But Yandy refused. "This isn't a storyline anymore," she said firmly. "This is my life, and I'm finally taking it back." Juju supported her decision. "Good. Let them find another." Decision. "Good. Let them find another scandal. You've given them enough of your tears." Yandy nodded slowly. "This time, I'm not crying for cameras. I'm crying for closure." Still, late at night, she would scroll through old photos, the wedding, the kids, the laughter, and wonder if forgiveness was even possible. Somewhere deep down, a small voice whispered that love, like theirs, doesn't die easily. But then she'd remember that envelope, that paper, and the sound of his voice saying, "That baby ain't mine." Now she knew it was, and that truth had rewritten everything she thought she knew about love, loyalty, and the price of silence. As the rain kept pouring outside the Atlanta mansion, the tension inside only grew heavier. Yandy's face was pale, her mascara smudged from hours of crying, and Mendeecees sat across from her, his phone buzzing nonstop with messages he refused to open. "Say something," Yandy whispered, her voice shaking, her eyes searching his for even a trace of warmth. "You really think I would hide something like this from you?" Mendeecees leaned back, shaking his head slowly. "I don't know what to think anymore, Yandy. Every time I turn around, somebody's saying that baby don't look like me. I've tried to ignore it, but now the receipts are everywhere." He threw a printed screenshot on the table, a blurred photo from a gossip blog, showing a side-by-side of the baby and another man rumored to be the real father. Yandy covered her mouth, gasping. "You're believing the internet over me?" Her voice cracked. "After everything we've built, after all the years I waited while you were locked up, you're gonna let strangers tear us apart?" Mendeecees stood up suddenly, pacing across the room. "It's not just strangers, Yandy. People I know. People from the streets. They're all talking. My own mama asked me if I was sure that child was mine. How do I look her in the face now?" The room went silent except for the thunder rolling in the distance. The walls seemed to close in, trapping years of love, loyalty, and betrayal in the same breath. Yandy stood, trembling but fierce. "You think I would ever cheat on you? After I stood by you through prison, through court cases, through everything? If you really believe that, then maybe you never loved me at all." Mendeecees turned back, his jaw tight. "Love don't mean blind trust. I just need to know the truth." That sentence hit her like a slap. She blinked hard, trying not to break again. "Fine," she said, grabbing her phone. "You want the truth? I'll call the doctor right now. We'll do a DNA test today, and when that test proves you wrong, I want you to remember this moment. Remember how quick you were to doubt me." Her tone was cold now, steady, dangerous. Mendeecees hesitated, realizing how deep the wound had gone. He opened his mouth to say something, but before he could, the front door burst open. It was Judy, Mendeecees' mother, clutching her phone like it held the world's secrets. "I told you to stop embarrassing this family," she shouted. "This is all over social media. Everybody's talking about the Frost family last week, and now it's y'all again. Yandy baby, I love you, but people are saying some serious things." Yandy looked at her, eyes red. "Miss Judy, with all due respect, I don't care what they're saying. I know my truth." Judy sighed, shaking her head. "Truth don't matter in this world no more. It's about what people believe." Mendeecees clenched his fists. "This ain't about people. This is about whether I've been living a lie." He stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind him. Yandy sank onto the couch, her body shaking. "What did I do to deserve this?" she whispered. Judy sat beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Baby, you didn't do nothing wrong. But men, when they feel hurt, they look for reasons to stop trusting." Just then, Yandy's phone buzzed again, a message from an unknown number. Her hands trembled as she opened it. A single photo appeared. Her and Mendeecees at a party 2 years ago, with a man in the background, the same man now rumored to be the real father. A caption followed. "You can hide the past, but the truth always finds a way." Her stomach twisted. She dropped the phone and looked at Judy in shock. "Who keeps sending these?" she whispered. Judy frowned. "Baby, I don't know, but whoever it is wants to destroy you." Outside, Mendeecees sat in his car, staring at the rain on the windshield. His phone buzzed with a new message to the same photo, the same caption. His heart raced as he read it again and again. Truth always finds a way. He muttered it under his breath, not realizing tears were forming in his eyes. For the first time, he didn't know who to believe, the woman he loved or the world whispering against her. Inside, Yandy stared out the window, whispering to herself, "If this is war, I'm not backing down." The storm outside cracked with thunder, mirroring the chaos now tearing through their lives. As the internet prepared for the next explosion of rumors that would push their family to the edge, the following morning broke with an eerie calm. Yandy sat at the kitchen table, staring at a stack of papers, messages, receipts, screenshots, all pointing to Mendeecees in ways she didn't want to see. Juju brought her coffee, setting it down carefully. "You gotta eat something, girl. You can't go through all this on an empty stomach." Yandy shook her head. "I can't. Every time I try, I see the baby, the money, the lies. It's like a nightmare I can't wake up from." Juju sighed, sitting across from her. "Look, I know it feels like the world's out to get you, but you gotta breathe. One step at a time." Yandy rubbed her eyes, letting the tears fall freely. "I just want the truth to come out, Juju. I need it. I need to see what really happened before I can even think about forgiving him." Meanwhile, Mendeecees was at a private DNA testing facility downtown. He sat in a small, sterile room, tapping his foot nervously. The technician handed him a swab. "We'll have results in a few hours," she said. He nodded silently, trying to appear calm, but inside his chest was a storm. He kept replaying the last weeks in his head. Yandy's crying face, Tasha's claims, the leaks, the social media frenzy. How did it get this far? He muttered, swiping at his phone again to see the flood of comments. Fans demanded answers, celebrities weighed in, and hashtags like #YandyY deserves truth and #Mendeecees lies were trending worldwide. He swallowed hard. "I hope it's not true," he whispered, looking down at the baby photos he'd secretly saved. "I hope it's not true." Hours later, Yandy received a text from an unknown number. "Results are in. Meet me at the studio." Her stomach lurched. She called Juju, whispering, "They want me to see something. I don't know if I'm ready." Juju held her hand firmly. "You'll never be ready until you face it. But at least you'll know. Go." Yandy drove carefully through the city streets, her mind racing. Every red light, every horn from another car felt like it was signaling doom. When she arrived at the studio, she was met by the producer, holding a sealed envelope. "This is it," he said softly. Yandy took it, hands trembling, and walked into an empty room to open it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Official DNA test results. Her heart pounded in her chest. She scanned the lines quickly, eyes widening. Probability of paternity, 99.9%. Mendeecees Harris. The room tilted for a moment. Her vision blurred. She dropped the paper. Her hand shook. She couldn't breathe. "Oh my God," she whispered. Juju appeared behind her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "It's real," Yandy said softly, her voice breaking. It's really him." The weight of betrayal, confusion, and heartbreak crashed down all at once. She sank into a chair, silent tears streaming freely. Back at Mendeecees' apartment, he paced, phone in hand, waiting for the results to be sent. Finally, the email arrived. He opened it slowly, scanning the lines. The confirmation hit him like a punch to the gut. His knees buckled slightly, and he sank onto the couch, gripping the edge of the coffee table. It's mine," he muttered, staring at the floor. He felt a mix of fear, guilt, and a desperate longing to fix everything. He dialed Yandy's number repeatedly, but she didn't pick up. Every unanswered ring made his chest tighten further. Yandy, still reeling, finally sent a brief text. "We need to talk. In person." The simple words carried more weight than anything he'd ever heard. He arrived at her apartment minutes later, drenched from the afternoon rain. When she opened the door, their eyes met a mix of anger, despair, and the remnants of love. Neither of them could deny. She held up the DNA test. "You know this changes everything," she said quietly. He nodded slowly. "I know, and I know how much I messed up." The silence that followed was heavy, filled with all the words neither could say. Yandy's phone buzzed again, this time with a live stream notification. Fans were flooding social media, waiting for updates, demanding answers. Juju whispered, "You don't have to go on camera. This is your life, not a show." Yandy shook her head. "No, they need to see this. I need the world to know the truth. Not just the gossip. Not just the lies." She took a deep breath and looked at Mendeecees. "You need to tell them everything. No more hiding. He swallowed hard. I'll do it. For you, for our child. The scene was set for one of the most explosive revelations the internet had ever witnessed. The cameras would capture raw emotion, betrayal, and the first steps toward a reckoning that neither of them could ignore. Outside, fans waited in the streets, unaware of the storm about to hit. Inside, Yandy and Mendeecees prepared to confront everything, the lies, the rumors, and the undeniable truth that would change their lives forever. Every heartbeat in that quiet room echoed the tension of a story that had captivated millions. A story that was about to explode in ways no one could have predicted. The next morning, the world woke up to a storm. Clips from the previous night's private confrontations had somehow leaked, showing fragments of Yandy holding the DNA results, her voice trembling as she whispered, "It's him." The internet immediately exploded. Hashtags like #Mendeeceesbaby, #YandyTruth, and #FamilyBetrayal began trending worldwide. Fans uploaded reaction videos, speculated endlessly, and dug through every past interview, every social media post, searching for clues about when and how this could have happened. Yandy's phone buzzed. Messages of support poured in from strangers, celebrities, and friends alike. Some praised her courage, others offered advice, while a few cruelly accused her of overreacting. She scrolled without stopping, her mind numb. Mendeecees, meanwhile, faced an onslaught of his own. Tabloids plastered his face with bold headlines, "Father or Fraud." Mendeecees' biggest secret exposed. Reality show pages dissected every gesture, every previous statement, and commentators debated whether he had known all along. He felt the weight pressing down, the shame gnawing at his stomach. For the first time, he couldn't lean on his charm or fame. "I've got to fix this," he muttered to himself, staring at the baby photos he'd secretly taken, the only tangible connection to a life he now had to claim responsibility for. He booked a private flight to the city where Yandy had gone to clear her head. He needed to speak to her face to face. Upon landing, Mendeecees went straight to the park they had often visited with their kids. It was quiet, the kind of place where echoes of laughter and old memories lingered. He saw her sitting on a bench, wrapped in a large coat, staring at the swings. Approaching cautiously, he whispered, "Yandy." She didn't look up. "I know," she said flatly. He froze. "You know?" She finally turned to face him, her eyes burning with a mixture of hurt and anger. "The DNA results. I know everything now." Mendeecees nodded, swallowing hard. "I never wanted it to get this far. I was scared, and I made mistakes. But it's real. That baby, our child." She blinked back tears, her voice low but sharp. "You think saying that makes it better?" He sank to the bench beside her, hesitant, unsure if he was allowed to touch her or speak freely. "I know I can't take back the lies, the secrecy, but I can try to be the man you deserve now. For him, for our child." She stared ahead, silent, the wind catching strands of her hair across her face. After a long pause, she whispered, "You should have thought about that before everything exploded." He nodded, his voice breaking. "I know, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it right, if you'll let me." She shook her head slowly, a tear falling. "I don't know if I can. Not yet, not after this." The following week was a media frenzy. Every outlet wanted interviews, reactions, and updates. The baby's identity, now confirmed, became the hottest topic online. Social media users flooded forums with speculation about how the news would affect their family, the reality show, and Mendeecees' public image. Yandy avoided cameras, retreating with her kids, and Juju, refusing to let the story dictate their lives any longer. She posted one cryptic message on her social media: "Truth cannot be silenced." Fans interpreted it as a sign of strength, a signal that she was taking control. The public, hungry for details, dissected the post for hidden meanings. Mendeecees attempted to navigate the chaos as well. He released a public statement, carefully worded: "I acknowledge the DNA results. I will take responsibility as a father and as a partner. I ask for privacy as we work through this as a family." The statement went viral immediately, yet reactions were split. Some praised his honesty, others accused him of timing it to regain sympathy. Bloggers, talk shows, and live streamers debated whether this could ever repair the trust that had been shattered. Every social media account dissected his body language from old interviews, comparing them to the leaked confrontation. As days passed, Yandy made a decision. She called the producers and asked for one last, unscripted segment to tell her story directly. "I don't want edits. I don't want lines. I want the truth. My truth. Out there." The filming day arrived. Cameras set discreetly to capture her words, not dramatize them. She spoke slowly, her voice steady but raw. "I've loved. I've trusted. I've fought. I've stood by someone who made mistakes that cost us everything. Today, the truth is out, and I finally get to say what I feel without fear of edits or gossip. This is my life, my child's life, and my voice. Nothing else matters. After filming, she left with Juju, the weight in her chest slightly lifted. For the first time in weeks, she felt like she had reclaimed some control. Mendeecees stayed behind, staring at the monitors, watching her words, knowing that no matter what happened, the truth had changed their world forever. Outside, the city moved on, unaware of the personal storm that had raged behind closed doors. But online, the story had reached millions. Debates, comments, and theories swirled like wildfire. And while the internet demanded drama, Yandy and Mendeecees began the slow, painful work of navigating a reality that had no script, no retakes, and no easy endings. Weeks passed, but the storm didn't settle. Every public appearance Yandy or Mendeecees made was scrutinized. Every word twisted into headlines. Every glance dissected for hidden meanings. Yandy avoided the parties, the talk shows, the cameras that once followed her every move. Instead, she focused on her children, on healing, on reclaiming a sense of normalcy amid the chaos. Juju stayed close, a constant reminder that she didn't have to face the storm alone. One evening, as Yandy tucked her kids into bed, she whispered to herself, "This is it. This is the life we protect. No one else's opinion matters." But even as she spoke those words, a gnawing anxiety lingered. The world had seen her pain, and now they wouldn't let it go. Mendeecees, meanwhile, tried to make amends in ways he hadn't imagined. He spent hours at the DNA testing facility, making sure everything was documented correctly. He met with the baby's mother, Tasha, trying to negotiate co-parenting arrangements. Knowing that every public misstep could reignite the scandal, the press had caught wind of private meetings, publishing blurry photos of him arriving at the facility with documents in hand. Fans and critics alike speculated endlessly. "He's trying to cover something," one commenter wrote. "He's finally facing his responsibility," another countered. Each post felt like a fresh wave of pressure, and Mendeecees struggled to maintain composure under the unrelenting gaze of social media. Back at Yandy's home, she decided to reclaim her narrative. She began drafting a personal statement, a long letter she would post online explaining the truth from her perspective. "People only see what they want," she told Juju. "I have to make them see the real me. The me that survived this and is still standing." She wrote carefully, each word a blend of emotion, clarity, and defiance. She recounted the betrayal, the shock, the heartbreak, and, finally, the acceptance that the baby was indeed Mendeecees. "This isn't about revenge," she typed. "It's about truth. It's about my children, our family, and the life we have to protect from rumor and scandal." The letter, when published, went viral within hours. Millions read her words, praised her bravery, and empathized with her pain. Some fans expressed relief that the story had clarity. Others debated the timing and her choice to go public. Journalists quoted lines from her letter on morning shows and social media platforms, highlighting her dignity amid chaos. Yandy watched the reaction from her living room, a small sense of empowerment blooming. For the first time, she felt the public narrative shifting, from scandal to understanding. Mendeecees watched the wave of reactions cautiously. Some messages were supportive, some critical, but one detail stood out. Fans were demanding a follow-up. They wanted to see him take accountability publicly, face the consequences of the months of secrecy and denial. He called his lawyer. "I know what they want," he said, "but I need to do it right. No more lies, no more hiding." Arrangements were made for a private statement to be recorded and released simultaneously with Yandy's interviews, allowing both sides to tell their story in parallel. The coordination was delicate. Every word was vetted, every gesture considered. On the day of the public statements, the atmosphere was tense. Cameras rolled quietly in controlled environments, capturing raw emotions. Yandy spoke first, calm but resolute, recounting the emotional journey from betrayal to clarity. Mendeecees followed, voice steady, owning his mistakes, acknowledging the truth, and pledging commitment to his responsibilities as a father. Viewers online were riveted. Social media exploded with comments, reactions, and discussions. Some fans cheered the honesty, others debated past behaviors, but all agreed that the story had reached a new level of emotional intensity. After the recordings, both Yandy and Mendeecees retreated from the public eye to focus on family. The online frenzy continued, but the personal work, the conversations, the apologies, the careful rebuilding of trust became their priority. Yandy met Mendeecees privately to discuss co-parenting and boundaries. The conversation was long, raw, and honest. filled with tears, laughter, and moments of fragile understanding. "We can't change the past," Yandy said softly, "but we can decide what happens next." Mendeecees nodded, understanding the weight of her words. "I want to be better. For the baby, for the family, for you." Though the world watched, the story had evolved. It was no longer just a scandal, no longer just a headline. It had become a tale of accountability, raw emotion, and the difficult path toward rebuilding trust. The family, while still divided in the eyes of the public, began navigating a private reality filled with cautious hope. Every step was measured, every interaction a negotiation between past mistakes and future responsibilities. Outside, the city moved on, unaware of the quiet, deliberate healing unfolding behind closed doors, while online, the drama continued to captivate, debate, and mesmerize millions. The following weeks were a delicate balance between public attention and private healing. Yandy spent her mornings focused on her children, school drop-offs, and the small routines that anchored her to reality. Each evening, she would sit on the balcony with a cup of tea, reflecting on the whirlwind that had consumed her life. Juju remained a steady presence, helping shield her from the relentless social media speculation and ensuring she didn't collapse under the weight of constant scrutiny. "You've survived everything they've thrown at you," Juju reminded her one night, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders. "This is just another chapter, not the whole story." Yandy nodded silently, her mind still haunted by the image of the DNA results, by Mendeecees' wavering gaze, and by the public spectacle of her private life laid bare for millions. Mendeecees, meanwhile, worked tirelessly to prove his commitment. He scheduled regular visits with the baby, coordinated with Tasha to establish a fair co-parenting plan, and even began therapy to confront the patterns of denial and avoidance that had contributed to the chaos. Every visit was documented carefully, the media hovering on the fringes, ready to turn any interaction into headline fodder. Fans criticized him for previous mistakes, but they also witnessed glimpses of genuine remorse and responsibility. "I can't undo the past," he admitted privately to a friend, "but I can be present now. I can't let fear or shame define me anymore." Despite the measured progress, tension simmered. Online commentators dissected every small gesture: a hug between Yandy and Mendeecees, a picture of the baby with Mendeecees' hand resting lightly on his head. Rumors about a possible reconciliation swirled endlessly. Yandy remained firm. There would be no rushing forgiveness, no forced smiles for the cameras. "They want drama," she said to Juju, "but this isn't a reality show. This is my life. If they don't like it, they can look away." The determination in her eyes became a quiet source of strength, an assertion that her narrative was hers to control, despite the relentless gaze of the world. One evening, a surprise visitor arrived, Tasha, the mother of Mendeecees' other child, carrying Miles. Her expression was cautious, wary of judgment. She handed Yandy the baby gently. "I just want you to know," Tasha said softly, "he's loved. I don't want him caught in our mistakes." Yandy took the child into her arms, feeling the tiny heartbeat against her chest. She looked up at Tasha, nodding. "Thank you. That means everything." The two women shared a quiet understanding, a fragile truce built on the foundation of shared responsibility and care for the child. Meanwhile, the media frenzy refused to relent. Clips of past confrontations were endlessly replayed, and social media threads speculated on future outcomes. Every minor interaction between Yandy and Mendeecees was analyzed for hidden intentions. Online forums debated whether reconciliation was likely, whether the family would collapse again, and whether this scandal had permanently altered public perception. Despite the intrusion, Yandy and Mendeecees carved out spaces of privacy, private meetings, secure video calls, and carefully timed public statements. Each was a small act of control against the narrative that had once felt overwhelmingly powerful. As the months unfolded, small victories emerged. Yandy saw her children thrive, the baby growing strong, surrounded by care and attention. Mendeecees maintained consistent involvement, showing up, apologizing, and demonstrating responsibility, not for show but because he understood the stakes. Trust, though fragile, began to rebuild in small increments, a shared smile over the baby's laughter, a cooperative conversation about schooling, a moment of understanding without resentment. The family was not whole, not yet, but the edges of healing were visible. Despite progress, echoes of the scandal persisted. Fan pages, gossip blogs, and social media threads continued to speculate, eager for the next twist. Yandy found herself scrolling through threads cautiously, aware that every word written about her could reignite old wounds. She learned to filter, to detach emotionally, and to prioritize her own reality over the narrative imposed by strangers. Mendeecees, too, developed resilience, learning to ignore provocation, focusing on tangible actions rather than perception. Together, though not reconciled fully, they navigated a path of accountability, co-parenting, and careful boundaries, demonstrating that even amid public chaos, private redemption and responsibility were possible. In quiet moments, Yandy would sometimes sit alone, reflecting on the months of upheaval. The envelope, the DNA test, the confrontations, the public scrutiny all had left indelible marks. Yet in those same moments, she also recognized her own strength, the clarity of her values, and the unwavering love for her children that anchored her. Outside, the city pulsed with life, unaware of the personal storms that had raged and subsided behind closed doors. Online, the drama continued to captivate millions. But within Yandy's home, a careful, deliberate rebuilding of life, trust, and family had quietly begun. As the year progressed, the rhythm of their lives slowly shifted. Yandy established firm routines for her children, balancing school, extracurriculars, and family time with careful precision. She even began documenting moments of joy and growth on social media. Not to feed the gossip cycle, but to reclaim her narrative, showing the world that life continued beyond scandal. Juju remained her steadfast companion, attending parent-teacher meetings, arranging playdates, and ensuring that Yandy never felt isolated. Every morning Yandy would watch her children laughing in the kitchen, reminding herself that these small moments were proof of resilience, that despite the chaos, life moved forward. Mendeecees, on his part, dedicated himself to consistent fatherhood. He established regular visitation schedules, coordinated with Tasha, and even began therapy sessions to confront patterns of denial, mistrust, and avoidance that had fueled past mistakes. He also worked on rebuilding his public image, but cautiously, ensuring that his efforts were genuine and not performative. Each encounter with his children was meticulous, focused, and tender. Fans began noticing subtle changes in him: patience, attentiveness, and a willingness to admit mistakes without defensiveness. The contrast to previous months was stark, signaling a man trying to confront not just public perception, but his own internal failings. Despite their private progress, the media remained relentless. Gossip blogs dissected each interaction, social media influencers speculated endlessly, and reality show forums debated whether Yandy and Mendeecees could ever truly reconcile. Any minor gesture, a shared look, a social media post featuring a child was scrutinized as evidence of a potential reunion. Yet Yandy and Mendeecees learned to navigate this intrusion carefully, selectively engaging with the public while prioritizing their family. Each decision, each carefully planned step, became a statement of control over their narrative, a refusal to let public spectacle dictate private life. In quieter, more intimate moments, Yandy and Mendeecees occasionally met to discuss parenting, boundaries, and future plans. These conversations were often fraught, filled with raw emotion and moments of tension. "We can't undo the past," Yandy would remind him softly, "but we can decide what kind of parents we want to be." He nodded, acknowledging the weight of her words, and together, they navigated co-parenting arrangements, carefully defining their roles and responsibilities. Trust, fragile as it was, began to rebuild incrementally, a gentle hand during bedtime, a shared laugh over a child's antics, small gestures that signaled accountability and care. Tasha remained a quiet, stabilizing presence in these developments. Her relationship with Yandy, initially tense, evolved into a cautious alliance based on shared responsibility for the child. They coordinated schedules, medical appointments, and family events, occasionally exchanging small words of encouragement and acknowledgement. It was an uneasy truce, fragile and tentative, yet necessary for the well-being of everyone involved. Through this cooperation, all parties began to realize that personal ego and past grievances were secondary to the children who relied on them. Online, the scandal gradually transformed into a narrative of redemption and accountability. While discussion threads and fan commentary persisted, many began to focus on the evolution of the family dynamic: a mother reclaiming her voice, a father confronting his failures, and a shared commitment to the children's stability. Clips of positive interactions, co-parenting moments, and personal growth circulated widely, shifting public attention from scandal to personal responsibility. Yet beneath this surface, Yandy and Mendeecees remained vigilant, aware that the world's gaze was unyielding and that every action carried potential consequences. By year's end, both Yandy and Mendeecees had grown in ways the public could only partially perceive. Yandy's confidence and clarity had strengthened, her voice a tool of empowerment rather than reaction. Mendeecees' dedication and accountability marked a stark departure from previous behaviors, signaling a man willing to confront truth and embrace responsibility. Together, though not fully reconciled, they established a measured coexistence centered on their children, defined by intentional communication, respect, and a shared commitment to moving forward. While the world continued to debate and speculate behind closed doors, the family quietly rebuilt the foundations of trust, accountability, and care, signaling that even in the aftermath of scandal, resilience, growth, and responsibility remained possible. Thank you for staying with us through this roller coaster of emotions, drama, and revelations. This story, as intense and heart-wrenching as it has been, reminds us of the fragility of trust, the weight of secrets, and the power of truth. Yandy's journey, Mendeecees' confrontation with his responsibilities, and the family's slow, deliberate path toward accountability show that even in the darkest storms, moments of clarity and courage can emerge. The emotions we've witnessed, the heartbreak, the anger, the disbelief, the tentative steps toward understanding are universal. They resonate because they reflect struggles many of us face in our own lives, in relationships, in trust, and in how we confront truth. As a viewer, you've seen how rapidly rumors, gossip, and public speculation can spiral out of control, affecting not just those involved, but everyone around them. You've witnessed the emotional cost of secrecy and the intense relief, confusion, and raw emotion that comes with uncovering the truth. It's a reminder that honesty, though difficult, is the foundation for any meaningful relationship. It's also a call to empathy, to look beyond the sensational headlines and remember that real people, with real emotions, live behind every story we consume. Now, this is your moment to reflect, to share, and to engage. We want to hear from you. What would you have done in Yandy's position? How do you think Mendeecees could continue to prove himself as a responsible father? What lessons do you take from the way this family navigated scandal, betrayal, and ultimately, accountability? Your comments are not just feedback, they are part of a larger conversation about trust, responsibility, and resilience in the face of life-altering revelations. Your thoughts can spark discussions that go beyond gossip, delving into the deeper human emotions and moral choices that define us all. Liking this video is more than a click. It's a sign that you appreciate the emotional journey we've shared, the intricate storytelling, and the real-life drama that has captivated millions. Subscribing ensures that you don't miss the next installment of stories that explore the complex, raw, and often unpredictable human experience. We promise to continue bringing you narratives that are immersive, emotional, and engaging, offering perspectives that are sometimes overlooked in mainstream coverage. Your subscription is your front-row seat to every revelation, confrontation, and moment of personal growth. Sharing this video allows the story to reach more people, creating discussions and connections across communities. When you share, you invite others into this journey, encouraging them to consider the consequences of actions, the power of accountability, and the resilience required to navigate public and private turmoil. Your engagement turns passive viewing into active participation, making each story not just entertainment, but a catalyst for reflection and conversation. Finally, we want to emphasize the importance of your voice in the comments. Engage respectfully, share your perspective, and consider the human emotions behind every headline. Your insight matters, your opinion contributes to a richer discussion, and your engagement encourages thoughtful dialogue. Tell us what moments moved you the most, what decisions you found the most surprising, and what lessons you will carry forward. This is your space to analyze, empathize, and reflect, turning entertainment into a shared experience that highlights our collective understanding of truth, trust, and human complexity. So, take a moment, reflect on the journey you've just witnessed, and be part of the conversation. Like, subscribe, and comment with your honest thoughts. Share the video to spark meaningful discussions among friends and family. And remember, every story we explore is a window into human emotion, decision-making, and resilience. Thank you for watching, engaging, and being part of this narrative. Your participation keeps the conversation alive and ensures that truth, accountability, and emotional storytelling continue to thrive in ways that entertain, educate, and inspire. Educate and inspire.